So I'm sat having a chat with Alex Petty, head honcho at the Free Festival. Thanks for taking the time to chat to me
No
today.
problem, good to chat.
So tell me a little bit about how the Free Festival came about.
We Laughing Horse started off running comedy clubs in London, and much like any sort of performer or producer wanted to be part of the Edinburgh Fringe, we came up for a few years and just looked at the overbearing costs of doing it the traditional route. So through that time we met up with a guy that was running a free show. Liked that idea and ended up running a couple of venues with him, and that sort of all grew out of that from an idea that we thought, let's give this a bit of a chance, and then gradually more performers came on board, and then the Free Festival grew out of that over the last 10 years or so.
Excellent, and obviously we're here in August and the festival runs for pretty much the whole of August.
Yes.
But what goes into it for you? Because I imagine it's pretty much a year-round job for you.
It is more or less now. We're sitting here mid-August. I'm already speaking to performers that are having a little scope out of the venues and asking what rooms they should look at for next year. Always nice to see people interested. Probably get a little bit of a quiet spell after August for a little bit of a break, but really after that, once we've got all the boring stuff of getting venues locked in and all the admin and things like that done with the festival, then with the main Fringe Festival, really we open applications in earnest in December, end of December, and that runs through until March, April with the Fringe deadlines. Everyone's keen to get their shows into the programme for the £100 discount at the end of beginning of March. So that's when the bulk of the programming and speaking to performers and sifting through shows happen, and then it really leads on there through into the sort of the physical production and getting it on the streets ready for August.
And how do you go about programming? Are you looking for a mix of different types of shows? Are you looking to kind of have lots and lots of comedy, for example? How does it all work when you're programming?
We are looking for a nice broad spectrum of shows. A lot of the rooms are suited mostly to comedy, so the programming does tend to be in bulk comedy. I think we're probably about 70-75% comedy, but we are trying to expand the rooms and the equipment that lets us move into more areas, and we do want to program across the whole spectrum, I should say, of Fringe program. We've got a lot of theatre, got a lot of cabaret, spoken word, there's music stages, so we want the Free Festival to represent the Fringe as a whole, just with it being the free platform.
But I kind of think, because I think that people associate Edinburgh with comedy now, these days. I'm not sure it's always been like that. How much has it changed over the years?
No, I mean, physically, comedy only became the biggest part of the Fringe programme in recent times, probably about 4 or 5 years ago. I think it's sadly that is where the money from the big corporations, the big agencies are behind the comedians, and that's what pays for all the big posters that are around Edinburgh. You see, every 9 out of 10 posters has got a comedian's face on it. And then there's a few others sort of dotted around it. So I think that's what makes people really associate with comedy. But really, there's a huge theatre section. It's not too far behind the comedy, and then everything else is bubbling away. And there's a great selection of all sorts of shows to see. Yeah,
and you run or you're involved with festivals kind of all over the world. So Brighton's in the UK, and then also in Australia. What is it about Edinburgh that makes it so special?
I think it's where all performers from all around the world know that's where to go to be discovered, to be found. It's where the arts industry appear for a month. They all decamp from around the world. There's various meetings and parties and seminars and whatever going on with people from all different parts of the planet for different programmes of shows. If people want to be discovered and further their careers, Edinburgh is the place to be. And being involved with Fringe festivals around the world, a lot of them have got a lot of local interest, but it's Edinburgh where you're really getting the global interest for you as a performer. So that's why everyone wants to get over here.
Excellent. And you talk about sort of people making their way in Edinburgh. For me, as a first timer up here, I really needed somebody to kind of take a chance and give me an opportunity. How important is it to you as the Free Festival to find new people coming through?
I think it's very important. As much as we look at the programme and we want to programme the best shows that we can find, a big part about the Fringe Festival is it's an open access for arts festival, and it should be open to everyone. That's the whole idea of Fringe festivals worldwide, and we're very supportive of that. That's what it should be. So we definitely go out there and look for either newcomers that have got something promising or an idea that's different, whether it be something that's interesting or something that's relevant politically at the moment, or even something that's just a crazy idea that we think that's perfect for Edinburgh. And it should be about the new talent, the interesting newcomers come through, and not just about the old stages all the time. So it's all part of a well-balanced programme, I think.
Okay, and talking of crazy ideas, so this time last year I hadn't done any stand-up comedy at all.
Yeah.
And I had this idea that I wanted to bring a show to the festival. If I'd come to you a year ago and said that's what I was planning on doing, what would you have said I would need to think about?
Well, firstly, I would have thought you're clearly insane, trying to crash it all into a year, but certainly the whole idea of it is great, because you made a concerted effort over that whole year to aim for it. So I think the things, so somebody coming up for the first time for yourself a year ago, it would have been really thinking about the venue and the space that you want to do and how you want to put the production together, and really to get out there and get as much experience of the comedy circuit and material and joke writing, and seeing how people put not just a stand-up set together, but a whole show. The art form of putting on an hour show, whether it be having a narrative or an interesting idea or a story about a journey, is completely different from what is normally a club comedy set. So I would have said, yeah, a lot of learning to do over the course of the year. And in terms of Edinburgh itself, a lot of research, making sure you speak to the right people who've been up here before. There's always performers that have performed at every level that have been up here before, that generally find performers of all genres are very happy to share advice of how they've done things and who they've worked with, and just really listen to everyone and look at all the information that's out there. The Edinburgh Fringe itself put a lot of information out there through the application process, and that's very helpful to performers. They had lots of meetings, different places around the country and indeed around the world, helping performers. When you're registered with the Fringe as a show as well, they give you a huge amount of advice and support how to put your show on. And likewise, be it myself or other venue producers, speaking to the venues, talk to them. They've obviously got years of experience, and they will have a lot of information to give out to try and make the Fringe run as successful as possible.
And what kind of challenges do you think there are for a comedian like myself, who's completely unknown, really coming off the open mic circuit in London, but trying to get people to come and see my show? How much of a struggle do you think people find that?
I think they do. I think it's a lot of comedians that come here at just I'm doing the Fred Smith comedy show. They're the ones who start to blend into the background and find it difficult. It's people need to come up here with a good idea, an interesting and unique idea, and that's what really sells. You get 40 words in the Fringe programme for a title and a blurb, and that really needs to stand out, not just to audiences but to industry people and reviewers, because once people like that are interested and you get reviews for the show, that helps out. But you need something that jumps out, and you can get, with a good idea, you can fill your room up. And then on top of that, it's putting the work into your own marketing and things like that. But it really is getting a good show, a good idea, and something that you believe in and that you really want to do, not something you're doing just for the sake of it, because people can tell, I think, when they come to see the show, if it's something a performer really wants to do.
And one of the most effective things I've found in the brief time that I've been here is trying to get spots on other people's shows, so that you get seen by people, maybe doing 5-10 minutes on somebody else's show. Is that kind of a common thing? Do you find that performers like to do that, to try and... It
is, they do. I think for a stand-up comedy performer especially, getting spots on mixed bill shows in other venues and other places is the best way to get an audience. You get up there and do 5, 10, 15 minutes of your best material. That's a great advert. Usually these selection shows have got a good big audience, so you're performing in front of 75, 100, 150 people plus, and if people like you, that's a very good advert for them coming along to see your show. So that's probably, I'd say, for stand-up comedy performers, the best way of doing it. But then on top of that, being proactive with your flyering and postering and getting out around town and just constantly marketing yourself all the time.
And do you think there's any... Somebody said to me early on with the flyering, there's no point flyering until just before your show, because you won't get people in. But we're starting to find actually that I think talking to people earlier on in the day and giving them something to plan to go and see might be a better thing.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that. Especially when you're, I mean, the High Street up on the Royal Mile is the main place for flyers, but people aren't going to go from there direct to a show normally. So most of us, I'd say, you need to spend an hour, a couple of hours a day, a lot earlier than your show, just to get out there and do general flyering. But then that's cumulative. People come up to the Fringe for a week, for 2 weeks. They like to plan ahead, as you say. So if you're flyering on a Monday, then they see that flyer and they like the show, they can come along on a Thursday or a Friday. So that the the flyering well in advance really builds up the sort of the long-term audience, but then couple that with a bit of last-minute flyering around the venue, outside the venue, because there's always people looking around for things at the last minute. Certainly if you're on a venue with multiple rooms and there's we've got a couple of spaces like the Three Sisters and the Counting House with courtyards where loads of people hang around in, that's great for last-minute flyering if you're in those sort of venues, because then you can grab a few people who've just wandered in to go, what's on now? Let's go and see something.
Yeah, excellent. And are there any kind of common mistakes or things that I should try and avoid, pitfalls really that people find when they come up here and they're inexperienced?
I think, particularly for someone who's coming up for the first time, I think it's very easy to get into the sort of the late night and the partying and the drinking. It's a great and huge part of the festival, and a lot of that as well is hanging around in performers bars and being in part of the networking. But quite a few performers end up spending a little bit too much time doing that and don't quite have the time to market and put the effort into the show, and certainly start feeling the worse for wear. A lot of performers as well think they can come up and do the full month and not have any time off. I always advise people to try at least have one day off in the middle. It's very intense, there's so much going on, you're busy all day. You do need a little bit of time, if it's a full day off or even if it's a couple of hours somewhere, to get out and occasionally, as today's proving, Edinburgh can have a bit of sunshine. Just enjoy a little bit of a break, and then before getting back to shows, to keep the mental headspace a little bit better. But it's really just get out there. You've got to put the work in, you've got to put the work into the marketing, and the more that you put into the show. The more that performers get out of it, and that's what I think everybody wants.
Alex, I think that's great. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Fantastic.
To chat to us.
Good to come along and chat.
Thanks very much.
Great stuff.